about Islam today. It's always some type of fear campaign going on in America where they always got you wanting to fear something or hate something. You know what I'm saying? And right now, it already was the Muslims at first. And the Muslims stay up again. So I'm seeing you coming across a lot of that, a lot of hate against Islam. And a lot of people have a misunderstanding because the majority of people in this country are Christians or they claim to be Christians. Because they definitely, most of them don't really study, they don't really understand their Bible. They don't really live any different than anybody else. They just say, I'm Christian on top of everything they're doing. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So people here are Christian by default because that's the dominant religion. And 99% of Christians don't really read nothing outside of their book or anybody that deals with that book for whatever weird reason. Like they don't, I don't know why, but I've done a lot of studying about religion. That was one of my things that I was heavily invested in, just like I am boxing. It was religion and my people's history. And I would say it that way because I didn't study everybody's history unless when I was studying my people's history, I came across yours. But I did a lot of studying about my people's history because our history has been distorted, lied about, and all kind of weird stuff going on with our history. So I did a lot of extensive research on that. But yeah, religion. Because I was raised Christian, and I always wanted to know, the truth. And it came a point where I was questioning that stuff. It was stuff in there that didn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? It didn't stand up to logic. Then I start running into people, we having debates, and contrary to what a lot of other people are that are Christians, I was heavily logical, like I still am. So when somebody would say something to me that didn't make sense, and I knew I couldn't combat what they were saying besides saying belief or something that didn't combat what they were saying, I had a problem with that. A lot of people don't because they're not logical based people, but I had a problem with it. So I started researching a lot of stuff because I went through a phase where you know I didn't know what I believed. I didn't have any religion. I went from Christianity to nothing for a little minute, and it was tough. And I know that's what a lot of people are afraid of because it's like that belief is a security blanket. That's what it's designed for. You need something to believe in so you don't be hopeless. So that's what that stuff for. It's like a drug. You know what I'm saying? It's selling hope, make you believe in something even if it don't make sense. Believe, believe, believe. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I went through that little phase, got up out of there, and on that journey, I studied a lot of other religions. I studied the occult. I studied everything I could find in the occult. Aleister Crowley, magic with a K, Magick, the Rosicrucians, the Masons, anything I get my hands on, the Egyptians, anything I get my hands on. I studied black magic. I studied the left hand path. I studied um, like I say, man, any Buddhist. I read the Buddhist book. I read Nation of Islam, Al Islam. I never really seen any literature on the like what the Muslims are that come from the Middle East. A lot of them are over there. If they're not Sunni, I understand Sunni, but if they're not Sunni, I don't really understand the Shiites and all the other ones because there's a lot of them. That's what I want to talk about today. There's a lot of different Muslims. People just hear Islam or Muslim assume they all the same, and they're not. It's not the same. Most people that are in this country, like you see, like most like black people and most people that are here that are Americans that are Muslims, they're not Shiites. They Sunni, and there's a difference. That's why you don't see them running around here all crazy and radical and doing all that. They'll be militant though. That's what scares a lot of people out of Islam. They'll be militant. You know what I'm saying? They'll be programmed. They'll be disciplined. They ain't eat no pork. They ain't drinking no alcohol. They're gonna be disciplined. And that's what attracted me to Islam. The discipline, the intelligence. A lot of times those brothers encourage to study. That's what attracted me to Islam. You know, but that's not the same ones that these people from Syria and these ones that are strapping bombs in behind. That's not the same ones. Those are not Sunni Muslims. And that's why whenever they get a hold of those guys and they get a hold of their stuff and they go through their stuff, they always find like all kind of like extremist ideologies. That stuff is not in Al Islam. They don't deal in extremism. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's the difference. A lot of people don't know. You got Sunni, you got Shiite, and then you got, the Nation of Islam. They're totally different. The Nation of Islam and Al Islam. When I say Al Islam, we talking about conventional Islam. We talking about, traditional conventional Islam. That's not the same as the Nation of Islam. They're not the same. I've been places. I did some time. The Nation of Islam and Al Islam, them brothers can have meetings in the same place. The Nation of Islam will come to the Al Islam brothers, meetings, and it'll be cool. You know, but the Al Islam brothers and Sunni Muslims, they're not going to a Nation of Islam meeting because it's different. They're not going in there listening to that because it's different. It's got a different spin. The Nation of Islam was, I don't know why, but whatever. The Nation of Islam was put together specifically to help black people struggle in America. And it was spun and put together for them. And the head of that is, you got Farad Muhammad, who passed away. And then what you got? Elijah Muhammad, who's another, like, basically the messenger of prophet over there. And now you got Farrakhan. So they think it's different. You know what I'm saying? You got Al Islam, with the Prophet Muhammad, you know, and then you got the way they teach and the way they push. They don't really be with all that old extra stuff. They kind of just stick to the 5 pillars, which is the 5 pillars is five, you gotta take five. I'm probably saying it wrong, but you gotta take a trip to Mecca. Go to Mecca. You're supposed to give tithes. You say your shahada. You make prayer and you fast. Those 5 things is what they focus on, and then the lessons of Muhammad. That's it. They usually peaceful brothers, but they do get active. They do get like that. You know what I'm saying? It's in there. It tell them to train. Tell them ready for war. Certain things they're gonna get active, and that's what attracts a lot of militant, strong brothers to that movement. Because a lot of times when you become a Christian, you basically have to like put your manhood up. A lot of times with people, when you see a Christian in their highest element and their most happiest time, it's like non-violent, peaceful. You feel me? Like they really be reluctant to get active. A lot of us that come from the streets or come from, that's something we don't want to give up. That's not appealing to us. It's like you gotta like put your pair up. You know what I'm saying? Yo, I don't even know how you want to say that. Your testicles. You feel me? In order to be a Christian. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's never a time where they say, yeah, you can get active on him. And that's what really got me out of Christianity. I'm going around being a happy Christian, being cool with people, you know what I'm saying? And that's how I started. And that's still one of my dispositions, though. As much as I talk smack on here, get into it, people, really, I wish everybody could be cool, be happy, and just, but it don't work like that. You feel me? And Christian, and when it comes to that doctrine, they rarely ever give you the green light to say, yeah, now you can get active. No, what people would do, though, is write their own scriptures into it. I'm still working. God's still working on me. I'm gonna turn. I can't turn the other cheek. I don't know nowhere in the Bible where it give y'all a green light for what specifically you can go to war for, especially in the New Testament, which most of y'all cling to. What time can you go to war? I know it's saying there's a time for this, and that, but what are your clear instructions on when you allowed to go to war? They don't know. They don't know because it don't really say. Everybody just giving their own opinion, and that's what happens with a lot of stuff. But anyway, the difference between Islam, so a lot of that terrorists, what y'all see the terrorist Islam, that's I don't know what. Oh, that's my messages on my phone coming through. I'm like, what is that? But a lot of what they try to blanket all Islam together, and it's not. And that's basically what I wanted to just speak on up in here. Is that there's three types. There's pretty much three main types of Islam. You got the Nation of Islam, which is a black-based version where they read the Bible and the Quran, and then you have Al Islam, which is the conventional Islam, which is most brothers are, which is traditional Islam, Sunni, and then you have the Shiites, and then you got some mixture of what these jihadists and these other people that's strapping bombs on their behind. Totally different dudes. I don't even know if they operate out the same Quran. I don't know. I've never met one. Because if I did, I said, let me see your book. I ain't scared of them. I want to see your literature. That's how I get down. Anything y'all, I want to read it. I want to see what it's about and see if, because a lot of times what happen is what they're doing is not really in the book. It's like that all the time. I mean, think about it. Christians all off the same Bible. You got 20 different denominations. Why? Obviously, they all reading the same book, getting different interpretations. With Islam, it's far less of that, to be honest with you. And that's another thing that makes it appealing. And it actually was designed that way. because Islam came after Christianity for sure. It came to kind of like clean up the confusion, and it says that when you study the history of it, and it did. Like Islam, they don't have as many different fractions. They don't have as many different like issues like that. You know what I'm saying? They're more unified because again, the main five pillars is what they focus on. You know what I'm saying? That's what they focus on. Not debate and say this and say that. Like, you need to go figure out why your religion messed up instead of worry about other people. And especially if you're not gonna read the book. That's what be the craziest. People would be, they got all these opinions about Islam, but they haven't even read the book. Or at best, they've went and pulled a couple scriptures and tried to attack the scriptures. That's at best most of the time. Like, oh, I got a scripture. They don't know nothing about the culture. I studied Islam and was a practicing Muslim for 2 years. I wouldn't dive in to really understand Islam because it was always Islam was attractive to me because of the discipline of those brothers, the militance of those brothers, and the intelligence. Like, most Muslims that I meet, the majority of them are intelligent. You know what I'm saying? It's like they for sure be studying. Um, they gonna be well versed in what they say they believe, and that's what attracts a lot of people. That's why Islam is the fastest growing religion. And I'm not Muslim, by the way. I'm no longer Muslim. You know what I'm saying? That's not like what I claim to be. That's not my push. But I keep a lot of practices from there, and I still remember a lot of the wisdom that came from there. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of wisdom in all the books. I deal with there's wisdom in the Bible, wisdom in the Quran, there's wisdom in all the religions. You know what I'm saying? And that'd be my thing. Like, why all y'all can't get along? I seen a post that said, you know, would Muhammad and Jesus be fighting, or would they be working together? And you almost know for sure they're gonna be working together. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. So when a lot of times when people talking about Islam, I hope these things ain't coming up on me. Nah, of course not. I gotta turn my notifications off when I'm on here because that stuff sounds crazy. But but yeah, man, that's all I want to get on here. Shit. I ain't gotta run with that long, man. It's three different versions of Islam, possibly a little more here and there, but ultimately though, the ones they talking about on TV that's doing all this wild stuff that they trying to like. It's always some fear campaign in America. First it was COVID, then it was this global warming. It's always a fear campaign to get people to do something. I don't buy half that stuff, man. But when it comes to Islam, though, for sure, you got to do your studies, go around the brothers, read it, see what they own, see how they pushing. You know what I'm saying? To understand it, instead of just listen to the news with their agendas and then run around acting like you know something or spreading fear and ignorance instead of educating yourself on what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? But that's it, man. I'm gonna turn my notifications off because this stuff sounds like one of those like Amber alerts when they go off on here when I'm on here. But yeah, man, just a little something on that. The sensei deal with a lot of stuff, man. History, religion. I studied a lot of religion, man. I kind of settled more in the occult space because it's a little bit deeper. It encompasses everything that all the religions encompass, but also higher levels and a deeper understanding of religion, not just believe, believe, believe. Like no, religion and science go together. But if you're not reading the right literature, your stuff is gonna be heavy based on belief because that's they want you to do. It's more you're being trained to be more of a follower than actually be raised to the level of a god. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be studying and trying to, like the Buddhists say, discover the God within you. That's the goal. You know what I'm saying? Discover the power in you, not worshiping something or someone outside of you, taking the power away from you. That's almost like it's slavery in a way if you think about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I know a lot of y'all not ready for that, so we're not even gonna go into all that. Most of y'all still holding on to your little books and just doing what you're told, following, and rinse, wash, repeat. But yeah, man, that's it for now. My little rant. Pay attention to this road.